Perfect. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Good.
Hey, bro.
Thanks, Dave, for doing this. I got Dave McEllistrum from RLB and Amplify LLP doing I'm in a Car episode. I think this is episode number 26.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've been working at making this come to life.
It's my lucky numbers.
Yeah. Really?
26.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You're joking.
I am.
Okay. Awesome. Good start. So we're gonna take a little drive around. We really just kind of take a second to talk a little bit about leadership, entrepreneurship, business, that kind of stuff. So your wheelhouse. But maybe before we get into it, you can give the audience a quick little 1 minute synopsis of your background and where you've come from and what you're up to.
Yeah, sure. So
awesome.
so it's I've started with RLB, an accounting firm, when I was a co-op student. So 19 years old. So I've been there my whole career.
So that was like what, 60 years ago?
Yeah, about 5 years ago. Yeah. Too long ago. And then became a partner after a few years, and was fortunate enough to be managing partner for 10 years in a high growth period from about 40 people to over 100 people. And then there's a bit of stress involved in that kind of position in a professional service firm. So
and that's really kind of going to segue nicely in a bit what I want to talk about.
So, and I'm always looking for other challenges, so I stepped down from that, and then from there, I thought there was an opportunity to maybe change how particularly small businesses get accounting services. So, over the last 2 years, tried to build Amplify, and it's been fun, been a good ride.
And you started it, 18 months ago?
Yeah, so I started doing the research about 2 years ago, and then really soft launched it about 16, 17 months ago or so.
So can you give the audience a quick little rundown of what Amplify is?
Yeah, so one of the things as a business owner myself, one of the things that you always struggle with. I'm an accountant, and I don't want to do my own books. I want to deal with clients, I want to deal with the business, I want to do strategy, I want to deal with the client's business and strategy. And what business owner wants to deal with the bullshit of their own bookkeeping and the market out there, particularly on the small business perspective, is you don't get a lot of personal attention. It's more about compliance, just getting things done for the government. Right. So like HST and
tax
returns and stuff like that. And there is some tax planning and stuff usually, but I wanted to change the experience from being like going to the dentist or buying insurance to actually adding value and being more about relationship, doing everything for the client, from bookkeeping to the year end to business advice to how they create a good people culture to whatever their needs are, to help them simplify their life and not have to deal with that stuff, and then help them build their business and their personal net worth as well.
Cool. Yeah. So that sounds like what RLB does.
Yeah, it does.
So what's the difference between RLB and Amplify?
Yeah, so one of the big differences is the use of technology. So we're utilizing tools that are available and putting them together in a way that business owners can just take photos of their receipts rather than putting them in a shoebox and delivering them to their bookkeeper. So really trying to simplify things, and then we produce the monthly information, we produce the HST returns, the year-end corporate tax returns, the year-end statements, everything that needs to be filed, and deal with the planning issues. And it can be a lot of, we've got clients in Northwest Territories, BC, Windsor and Detroit.
Cool.
So some are local and people want to meet locally, and others don't want to, so we try to tailor it to what people want.
So the big kicker is the idea of using web-based technologies that exist, packaging them together to make it so that it's an easier and more simplified experience for the business owner, so that you guys can amplify their business.
Absolutely.
Love it. So
that's good.
let's talk a little bit about that growth period. Went from, you're managing partner for 10 years, you guys went from 40 people to over 100.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just hoping you guys had some stressful times in there, and because we're going through some high growth period right now, and it's kind of stressful. So what was it like, and how did you get through it?
If I said it was easy, that would be a lie. But so I think some of the keys in terms of growth, if you're in a growth phase where you've got the right people and the right product and the right mood certain style to be able to grow your business. I think from an operational perspective, then it's a challenge to try to understand when do you add people on.
Right.
So getting ahead of it. So if you staff to, in a growth phase, if you staff to what your capacity needs are, you'll have trouble growing because you won't have enough people to do the work that's coming in, the work that's coming in. So that's a big challenge in terms of understanding that.
And then how do you manage cash flow? Like if you're building capacity for growth to come.
Yeah, look at it as an investment rather than a cost. So, and same thing with training people, because in our world, all we sell is our people.
Right.
So like hiring the right people, their skills, their attitudes, their abilities, and so making sure we've got the right people that are good fits, technically and particularly soft skill wise. So that whole people area and that people growth area, but it's really, to me, an investment. And business today is not like it was 30 or 40 years ago, where you come up with a business plan that takes 6 months to put together and is written in stone. And
right.
You take all the inputs you can get, you make a decision, you try it, you monitor it. If it doesn't work, you move away from it.
So coming back to a couple of things that you just said, one of them was around this idea of making sure you get the right people in. Right now, we're talking to a lot of our clients, and I know a lot of business owners have this issue where they're like, it's tough to get good people, or, I've just had to go through, 6 different staff members in the last 6 months, and I still haven't found someone that's good. So what kind of tricks or tips can you give the audience to, help them find the right people and make sure that they've got the right person for the job?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, and it depends how technical the role is, but if you've got some good senior people that know what they're doing from a technical perspective, my perspective is that hiring is almost fully about soft skills. If people are quick learners, if they take high ownership and accountability of what they're doing, if they're good with technology, if they're good with people, we can bring them in at an early stage in their career and make them into accountants or make them into marketers or make them into whatever, because they've got a great base of skills to be able to do that. So that's really our focus. Is we're lucky that we had some great people to train, but we really look at it from the bottom up in terms of, well, let's not bring in people with experience. We've had mixed success with that. Right. Let's really try to build the people.
Mixed experience with bringing
in people with experience that haven't been part of our culture, that didn't grow up as part of our culture.
So can you give any like little tips or tricks on how you go about hiring for culture and soft skills? Like what kind of things do you guys do in your recruitment process and your interview process to kind of identify whether or not someone has the skills you're looking for?
Yeah, we do a bunch.
And I'm really asking for me now, not even asking for the audience.
Yeah, so we do a few things. We use a personality profile, which we find, which is DISC, which tells you how the person reacts under stress, how you should communicate with them, how you shouldn't communicate with them, what their value to the organization is. We do that with all our existing people as well, to help them understand and work better in teams. And we do that for all potential hires, just to see where they fit. And oftentimes we have an idea of what that personality profile should look like. For the role. And it's not always clean. And if somebody doesn't have that profile, we still use our intuition and stuff to make a decision. But that's one of the tools we use. The other thing that we did probably 7 or 8 years ago now is we had an industrial psychologist interview 10 of our, what we felt were 10 of our best culture fits. Great exemplars of what we wanted the firm to be. Yeah. And so he developed a 30-question pre-screening test that we also send all applicants. Amazing. And it basically, I think if you get 24 of the 30 aligned, you are highly recommended for interview. And I think if you get 21 to 24, you're moderately recommended, and below that, you're not recommended for interview. Sure. So try to create that. What's the name of that industrial psychologist or the firm that person works for? Yeah, I was out of the U.S. through our accounting organization, so his name's Rex Gatto. Sorry, what is it? Rex Gatto. Rex Gatto. Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to take that tip to the bank, because I think that's a really cool idea. Everybody I've heard that does a good job with
hiring and pre-screening and interviewing and recruitment process to get the right people and a good culture, really focus on pre-screenings and using a bit of like a scientific approach or empirical approach, I guess. But I haven't heard anybody reference the idea of using an industrial psychologist before. And I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and then there's a third thing that we do oftentimes in interviews is, especially for some of the people that are coached in university, how to do interviews and deal with the standard questions.
Right.
I try to give them a logic problem that the goal of it is not for them to get it right. I think it's been given over 150 times and 3 people have actually got it right in the 10 minutes they've got. It's really to assess how did they deal with something they weren't expecting. Did they get the first part of the answer that almost everybody gets? Did they understand the question?
Right.
I take it up quickly with them. How do we interact in
What's the question?
Process? It's how can you get 4 guys across a bridge based on a couple criteria in 17 minutes?
Okay.
And so everybody gets to one, or 80% of the people get to one answer. But really, how do they react? How do they deal with failure? Are they competitive? Are they not competitive? We're looking for people that have a bit of competitiveness. Oh man, I wish I would have got that right.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So,
that's so cool, man. So DISC, industrial psychologist, and then a logic question that pushes people outside their comfort zone and kind of gives you an opportunity to see what they're like when they get put into something they didn't expect.
Yeah, how is their problem solving? What are their soft skills like?
How do they emotionally handle it? Yeah. Oh, that's so cool, dude. So just flipping the switch a little bit more towards, you personally. I know you've been part of this company and helping it grow, and RLB is definitely looked up to in the community. So as a leader in the organization, as a person who has clients' accounts, what kind of things do you keep in mind, or do you say to yourself on a day-to-day basis to kind of keep you on track to kind of put one step in front of the other?
Yeah, so from a helping people perspective, or I think that's that how
whatever perspective you want.
I think our role, we need to get the compliance work done, the stuff that the government needs. That's just a base level expectation when you come to a bookkeeping or accounting firm and tax.
Yeah, sure.
But really the mindset is about, and the excitement is about, I'm not a typical accountant. I'm more of a big picture guy. You're forced to be a detail person to get to a certain level in an accounting organization.
Right.
But it's really about how can we help people either maximize their business or minimize their taxes, or I've dealt with strategic planning exercises and how can the owners make more money and spend half time in the business rather than full time.
Beautiful.
So that's really what gets me up in the morning, is how do we problem solve that? How can I bring my experiences to bear? And they know their businesses, so it's just about asking the right questions and giving opinions and not being hurt when they say you're in your mind. It doesn't apply to us, and saying, okay, well, how about this?
Yeah, right. Okay, I got you, but let's keep moving. So then, is there any authors or speakers or people that you've kind of looked up to or follow or kind of use as a mentor, and maybe there's a word of wisdom or something like that they have that you could share with us?
Yeah, just really, I do a lot of reading, but Simon Sinek books that start with why is, for me, is.
So which little blurb out of that book kind of sticks with you the most?
I think just as a concept, making sure that we have a tendency, we're all busy, involving people so that they understand what the end result, what you're trying to accomplish, not just what the tasks are.
Right.
Like, why are you doing it? What are you trying to accomplish? So with Amplify, we're trying to simplify people's lives, amplify people's businesses. Right. We're not just doing their tax returns and the tasks that are involved in doing that. Yeah. So how does that impact not only the tasks that you do, but how you relate to the clients and how you talk to them and stuff.
So putting that end in mind.
Yeah.
Always keep the end in mind.
Absolutely.
And then communicate.
You got it.
Awesome, dude.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing this. All right, bye.
See you later.